Another poetry reading session with me, Shaun from Avondale. I would like to start this session off with a poem that was brought to my attention. It's from a relatively unknown author called Gillian Smith, and this was given to me by one of the residents here who said she has some connection to this author. And this is called Knitting Lady, and I picked this one because me and the ladies have been doing a lot of knitting lately, and it seems rather appropriate. So here we go. In Granny Beatty's rest home, there's a lady sitting knitting. The other ladies doze and chat, plain and pearl are clicking, never stopping for a rest or putting down her knitting. She's knitting at the table, she's knitting in her chair. While waiting for her dinner, she's knitting everywhere. She's always knitting. Her knitting's very long. I do not think she knows that she's dropping stitches and rows. I go up to her chair. What are you knitting, dear? But cloths. She isn't knitting squares. She isn't even knitting scarves for teddy bears. She's just knitting. There's another lady sitting in the chair beside the door, and she's unravelling the knitting lady's done before. She's rolling up the wool in balls to put away, so that the knitting lady can knit them up again next day. This story might sound sad, but how can this be the case? Just take a look and see the happy smiling face of the knitting lady. Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that passing there, had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, yet knowing how the way leads on to way. I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one. The next poem is one by Lord Byron. It's called She Walks in Beauty. She walks in beauty like the night, of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellow to that tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how sweet, how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, so soft, so calm, I've completely lost my place. One shade the more, one ray less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smile that's that win, the tints that glow, that tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. This next one's called Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Legs of stone stand in the desert, near them, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lays, crown and wrinkled lip, and sneer of command, tell that its sculptor wells passion's red, which yet survives, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, this colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. The next one, Brigade, by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode this. Forward the light brigade, charged for the guns, he said. Was there a man? Not through a soldier knew, someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. Into the valley of death, in front of them volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, and flashed as they turned in air, sabring the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered, plunged in the back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered. They had fought so well, came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world. Black as the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquered soul. In the fell clutch circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbound. Unafraid. It matters not how straight gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of. This is called Messy Room, and people who know me well know what I'm talking about. Whosever room this is should be ashamed. His underwear is hanging on the lamp, wedged in the window. It has been thrown on the floor. His scarf and one ski up the TV, and his pants have been carelessly hung on the door. His vest has been left in the hall. A lizard named Ed is asleep in his bed, and his smelly old sock has been stuck to the wall. Whoever's room this is should be ashamed. Donald or Robert or Willie or her? You say it's mine? Oh dear, I knew it looked familiar. The next one is by Roald Dahl. Never let them near your television set. Or better, they loll and slop and lounge about and stare until their eyes pop out. Last week in someone's place we saw a dozen eyeballs on the floor. They sit and stare and stare and sit until they're hypnotized by it in ghastly choke. Oh yes, we know it keeps them still. They don't climb out of the windows. They never pick or punch. They leave you free to cook for lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. But did you ever stop to think, to wonder what this does to your beloved tot? It rots the sense in the head. It kills imagination dead. It clogs and clutters up. His brain becomes as soft as his power of thinking rust and freeze. He cannot think. He only sees. All right, you'll cry. All right, you'll say. But if we take the set away, what shall we do to entertain our darling children? Please explain. We'll answer this by asking you, what used the darling ones to do? How used they keep themselves contented before this monster was invented? Don't you know? We'll say it very loud and slow. They used to read. They'd read and read and read and read, and then proceed to read some more. Great Scott, gadzooks! One half of their lives was reading books. The nursery shelves had held books galore. Books cluttered up the nursery floor. and in the bedroom by the bed, more books were waiting to be read. Such wondrous, fine, fantastic joy at something hot. It smells what? It smells good, so good. What can it be? Good gracious, it's Penelope. The young ones had Beatrix Potter, Mr. Todd, the dirty rotter, and Squirrel Nutkin, Piddling Blang, and Mrs. Tiggy, and just how the camel got his hump, and how the monkey lost his rump. So please, oh please, we beg, we pray, go throw your TV set away, and in its place you can install a lovely bookshelf on the wall. Then fill the shelves with lots of books, ignoring all the dirty looks, the screams and yells, the bites and kicks, children hitting you with sticks. Fear not, because we promise you that in about a week or two of having nothing else to do, they'll now begin to feel the need of having something to read. And once they start, oh boy, you watch the slowly growing joy that fills their hearts. They'll grow so keen. They'll wonder what they've ever seen in that ridiculous machine, that nauseating, foul, unclean. I think I read this one before, but I enjoy this one. A place called Blackpool, that's noted for fresh air and fun. A grandel, the finest that Woolworths could sell. They didn't think much to the ocean, the waves they was fiddling and small. There was no wrecks and nobody drowned. They paid and went into the zoo, where there'd lions and tigers and camels, and old ale and sandwiches too. There were one great big lion called Wallace. His nose was all covered with scars. Herbert had heard about lions, how they was ferocious and wild. To see Wallace lying so peaceful, morsel of fear, took his stick with an olive roll. He pulled Albert inside of the cage with him and swallowed the little lad whole. Mr. Ramsbottom, quite rightly, when all said and done, complained to the animal keeper that the lion had eaten their son. The keeper was quite about it. He said, "What a nasty mishap. Are you sure that's your boy that is eaten?" Pa said, "Am I sure? There's his cap." So the manager had to be sent for. He came and he said, "What's to do?" Then mother said, but mother had turned a bit awkward. When she thought where her Albert had gone, she said, "No, someone's got to be summonsed." So that was decided upon. Then on to the police station, in front of a magistrate chap. They told him what happened to Albert, opinion that no one was really to blame. He said that he hoped the Ramsbottoms would have further sons to their name. At that, mother got proper blazing and said, "Thank you, sir, kindly," she said. Not. And now, my final poem for this afternoon is a fairly recent poem by Hated and Imperfect and Impressed. And it's not feel timid, apprehensive, depressed. Someone they can turn to when, as the crises rage and swirl. Say, with his thoughts on immigration, teenage mum, Theresa May. The future of the monarchy, the latest Brexit shockwaves, he can cure the NHS. So any little niggle, anything you want to know, just run notice ways. These may defeat the brain of any politician bloke, but present it to my husband, he will solve it at a stroke. He will clarify the situation, make it crystal clear. You'll feel the glazing of your eyeballs and the bending of your ear. Excuse me, that's alone. Donald Trump. Upon these areas, he brings his intellect to shine, and in a great compelling voice that's twice as loud as yours or mine. I often wonder what it must be like to be so strong, infallible, articulate, guillotined, and muggers should be shot. The sound of his own voice becomes his ears, and he hasn't got an inkling that he's boring us to tears. My friends don't call so often, they have busy lives, I know, but it's not every day you want to hear a windbag suck and blow. Google Safari, on them we never call. Why bother with computers? My husband knows it all. Sometime. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, nice again.